buzzsaw as written. Lighting Girl, second ending.
My name is Marcus Nyman, and I am the conductor of Medina Community Band. I started out as a high school band director in 1971. I went to the University of Akron, graduated from the University of Michigan with a master's degree, taught for a year in Malvern, Ohio, in a small school, and then went to Medina. And when I took the position at Medina High School, at the end of the interview, the superintendent said, and oh, by the way, we have a community band that performs all summer long, and you're the director of that. I talked to the former directors. Both of them were still teaching in the school district. Charles Carey was the choir director, and Walter Bixler. And at that point they indicated it was primarily high school students who participated in it. It was like a summer band. Okay. And they didn't start rehearsing until the week or so before the summer season, and then they played every Friday through June and July. At that point in time, I really felt that the best thing to do was keep the status quo, do what they'd done before, try to program the music as it had been programmed, and look to the future and see which direction the winds would take us. But after the first year was over, the summer of '73, that was my first summer conducting the band, I really thought that this could grow into an adult band, and it could grow into a band that could meet year-round, and it could grow into a band that could play much more difficult literature than they were playing at that particular point in time. So yeah, the vision really started in '73, and I thought that by 1980 we would really move toward getting it a little bit more toward an adult band.
My name's Vicki Smith, and I'm a clarinet player in the band, and occasionally I get a chance to pinch hit for Marcus and do a little conducting. I'm a band director in real life, so I get to help out once in a while in that capacity with rehearsals. And I've conducted 2 concerts in all of these years that I've been in the band, but it's a lot of fun. I've been with the community band for 20 years. Through the years, I've had quite a few students come and see me. One of my former students from 1988, when I started in the band, sits beside me and plays clarinet also. I have an adult student who I started on clarinet who sits in the row behind us. So then that's great. Zachary is a current student of mine. And I've had other students. I had an octogenarian a man who was in his 80s taking lessons from me, who's now no longer in the band, but he was playing in the band too.
My name is Zach Nussbaum. I'm 17, entering my senior year at Copley High School. I'm a euphonium player for the band. This is my second year with the band. It's a concert baritone. It's a 4-valved wind instrument, brass instrument. It kind of looks like a small tuba.
Okay.
For concert season, for marching season, it looks like a giant trumpet. Yeah.
My name is Glenn Bachman. I'm a trumpet player.
Okay.
I live in Wadsworth, but I've been coming to Medina since I've joined the band. I joined in 1975.
Wow.
So this would be my 35th season.
Wow. Excellent.
I know Marcus Nyman has been here longer than I have, and I think there's one other individual who
that
maybe
right?
has a year more than me. But
Wow.
I kind of feel like an elder statesman. Musically, well, for many years, well, I played in high school and I played in college.
Yeah.
But I was a research chemist, so I had graduate school, getting started in a career, getting started, family started.
Yeah.
Music just didn't fit in with all of that.
Yeah.
But after about some 20 years, in about 1973, 1974, I got interested again.
Yeah.
And I found out about the band here in Medina, and I started playing in the summer of 1975.
My name is James Donahue, and I'm a flutist.
Okay.
And I actually am in my first season with the Medina Community Band.
Oh,
so
excellent.
pretty excited about that. Actually, well, I'm a professionally trained musician. I got a bachelor's degree in performance from Baylor University, and I'm originally from Texas, so I did that there and moved to Ohio in 2006 to go to graduate school at Oberlin, and I completed an artist diploma there.
Wow.
So, and then decided to stay in the area. So.
Okay, my name is Gail Sigmund. I play French horn in the band. I'm also the representative to the Medina Community Band Association from the band. I started playing in the community band in May of '92, so this is my 18th summer. I started playing cornet in the 5th grade and
Okay.
played all the way through high school, and then switched to French horn and was a music ed major
Oh, wow.
at Baldwin Wallace College, and taught band and instrumental music for 10 years in Brunswick and Fireless.
I'm John Blasco. I'm a trombone player with the band. It's actually my first official season with the band, so it's pretty cool. But I graduated a few years ago from Case Western Reserve, the degree in music education. I actually just got hired as one of the band directors at Central Intermediate School down in Wadsworth. So.
My name is Ken Pond. I'm a tuba player. I've been in the band for about 5 or 6 years. Real excited to do this. I started playing in another community band and had the opportunity to play here, and I really enjoy it. Well, I guess it probably all started with music lessons in grade school and high school, all that. Studied music in college. I have been a vocal director, handbell director for 20 years in various communities and churches, and was a tuba player in college, and kind of got away from it, raising the family and all those things, and gradually got back into it, had the opportunity, and it's great. I'm having a great time, having a time of my life.
The band started in 1859. At least that's the first indication we have from Medina Leader Post, which was the predecessor for the Gazette, and indicated that a group of townspeople got together and they serenaded the congressman, H.B. Blake, and they played for him. And they gave 5 or 6 open-air rehearsals or concerts and serenaded some of the other important people in the community. So that's how it really got started. And looking back at those early years when they started, it was probably a group of town people who just wanted to get together and play instruments. That group contracted or purchased or secured a guy by the name of Dustin Marble from Akron, and he came in to teach the people how to play their instruments. Interestingly enough, in 1858 or 59, Marble also went to Wadsworth and started their community band. Oh, wow. So the guy was probably a good musician. Whether they called him professor or not, it was probably like the Music Man, and anybody that played an instrument was called professor. Right. And he started them to play. So for the first couple of years, he was their director. It moved on beyond that. When they started performing on the square for the community, then I think it became a little more serious, and they got uniforms. They wanted to play for the community. The directors became a little more aggressive about how much they played, and there was a period in time, probably up until 1900, that the band did a lot of performing for a couple of years and then died out because they burned people out. There's one indication where they played 72 times that year, and then there was nothing heard from them for the next 2 years, which is not surprising. So that went through the first part of the 1900s. We get up to the 1920s and we see the school band movement start to build. And once that happened, there was a change in the band. 2 things happened. We saw that school orchestras, which came really before the school bands, and school bands from 1920 to 1940 were taking a bigger role in the community. And those people were playing on the square, they were playing other concerts, and the Medina Community Band, under its various names, coexisted with them. They'd often do a performance on a Saturday night, and the county bands would perform on a Wednesday night, or vice versa. They even tried to combine the bands at time to see if that would help with how things were going. So the first era was the small bands, a lot of performances. The second era, from we'll say 1920 to 1940, probably was the era when the band really started to grow. It changed right around 1900 from an all brass band in 18 I think it was 86 or something like that. They added a flute and a clarinet, so it wasn't just a brass band. And by the 1920s, it was a full concert band. The band was still pretty small, somewhere between 15 and 25 players, all the way through the 20s. By the 20s, we saw directors from either the county school music programs or the school, Medina City Schools, village schools it was called then, becoming the director of the community band. And that continued until 1980, when I left the county, the Medina City Schools, and became county band fine arts consultant and continued with the band.
Good evening, Medina. I'm honored and delighted to be here and conduct what I consider to be the finest community band in Ohio, the Medina Community Band. The community of Medina enjoys, supports, and benefits from this tradition that enriches life for everyone with ongoing concerts by a wonderful ensemble of musically talented and dedicated men and women, expertly led by Professor Marcus Nyman. This band is a delight for any guest conductor, as the players are professional, competent, and responsive. To be part of this season's concert series is a great honor, and as one who has had the privilege of also playing in this band, I have a unique perspective that qualifies me as an expert, if you will. Medina, you have the best, and you are the best. Thank you.
I think everybody needs a creative outlet in some way, and whether or not you're actually composing the music, my creative outlet is not composing, but it's reproducing these great pieces of band literature and orchestral literature that we use in the community band. And in school and in other areas. So I get just an awful lot of satisfaction out of hearing that music on an individual basis, playing some of those very difficult parts. It's satisfying to know that you can keep playing an instrument very late in life and not lose it. As not that sports are a bad thing, but when you get to be my age playing football, you're pretty much sitting out watching. And I have a lot more years left to be able to participate. And it pulls in a very wide age range of people. There aren't very many things in our world that we can do outside of our church affiliations that really teenagers through, say, octogenarians can participate on an equal basis. So it's a unique experience for me that way.
That's a hard question to answer. It's fun. Making music relaxes me. Yeah. There is a field called music therapy, and I think there's something to be said for that. Right. If I'm stressed out, have a headache, whatever, come to band or practice, it'll go away.
When I was younger, it was just something that was fun to do, and I had a natural aptitude for. But then I think there's a really special kind of interchange between a performer and their listener that I think is really hard to duplicate in other fields. So for me, that's the thing that keeps me going. So.
And this is the kind of question, you could say a lot of things about, like, it relieves stress when I'm in a bad spot, or it's just fun. I don't know. I just get in a zone when I'm doing it, and it's just like, all time and space kind of stops. And you just enjoy what you're doing. And really, I couldn't put a finger exactly on what it is, but it's just something that, like, when I'm doing it, it just, like, everything is right with the world. So I guess it could be kind of like, a stress relief kind of thing, but it's fun.
It's kind of my release valve in the real world. If I'm stressed or, had a bad day, I know that I can always go back and play the music. And it's not just, it's not playing just notes or stuff like that. It's actually playing music and listening to the music and following it throughout the journey of what it's saying through the song and history.
I guess why I do it, and maybe most people, maybe I shouldn't say most people, but probably the reason I do it is because simply it's great. It's fun, I mean, you can look at all the science and music and all of the brain science and all those things that go along, which all the studies are out there. But basically I do it because I'm having a great time.
Yeah. Well, of course, serving the public, providing music entertainment for the public, but also providing a venue for the individuals in the band.
Yeah.
I told you I was a research chemist, so music is a hobby for me.
Yeah.
And it's difficult playing a trumpet if you're doing it by yourself. You need other people to play with.
There you go.
And organizations like this community band provide that venue for people like myself who are not active in the music business in any way, either teaching or otherwise, but still like to perform.
Yeah.
And I think if you would look at the figures, there are quite a few young people come out of high school that have been active in music programs and go into other pursuits.
Yeah.
And some of them never get back to it. Some of them, after some period of time, do get back into playing like I do.
Yeah.
I very much appreciate those people in the band who are involved in music and teaching, some professionally playing, and that they set a higher standard for the rest of the time that you're.
Solos with the community band have changed over the years. Initially there weren't any, probably until the 1900s. We know that they had a couple of people who whistled, doing whistle solos from Sharon Center. We know that there was an elocutionist who spoke very articulate, which I can't do. But we also found that during the 20s and 30s, the vocal soloists were people who sang in church, who sang in school, and they would be the primary vocal soloists. That's been one of the biggest changes in the community band. Because Medina has grown as much as it has, we have people now that live in Medina who are professional vocalists, and we've gravitated toward using those people with the band to showcase their talents. Denise Milner-Hall, Dan Doty, Mickey Saito, to name just a few, have been with us, and we've enjoyed their talents and they've enjoyed ours. We're probably one of the few community bands that does not bring in outside soloists on a regular basis. And I don't know if that's by design or choice. I think it maybe is a little bit of both. I have encouraged the section leaders and the better players, more mature players, I suppose is a better way of qualifying it, to do solos with the band, to push themselves to do that. And I think the results we have found has been very pleasing. And it goes back to our curatorial mission, or our mission statement is that we want to feature people in our community to perform with the band. So that's probably been the biggest change over the last 20 to 30 years, that we're featuring people that are very proficient on their instrument, but from the community. 20s and 30s who either played in a musical ensemble or enjoy the music we play. And we have a lot of young marrieds who bring their kids that they want to hear the community band. And I think that goes back to the statement I made before about we find that grandparents bring their grandchildren, and they keep on bringing their kids all through time. It's a cheap date. We see a lot of high school kids that bring their boyfriend or their girlfriend and go to the square, and we see a lot of people that are older than that. And now that we're living longer, we're seeing a lot of senior citizens, or older Americans, whatever we want to call them, bringing a new spouse or a new partner to the square and see that. They'll come up to the square and they'll introduce me to the new bride, new husband, or something like that, or I'll see students that I had in school coming back. So we have a very diverse crowd as far as ages. We're also finding we have a crowd that's coming from a far distance. It's not just Medina as it used to be, the city of Medina or Medina County. We have people that are coming from the east side of Cleveland, Willoughby, Eastlake, Westlake. We're getting as far as Mansfield or Massillon, Norton, Oberlin. So I think that we're drawing a much larger crowd than we've ever drawn before.
I get to sit in the front row or close by on the edge in the clarinet section, and so I have a good view of the audience, and I really love to listen when the audience is singing along with us, the Star Spangled Banner, or the sing-alongs that we'll do. I like the fact that you can look out and see very, very old grandmas holding very, very tiny great-grandchildren or grandchildren, and kids are running around, and the motorcycles are driving around town. There's just it's such a slice of Americana sitting right there and playing, and that is what I really love about the concerts.
Many community bands throughout the states, and they all have their place to play and everything, and yeah, what makes 500 to 750 people come every Friday night, rain, snow, or sunshine? Well, maybe not snow and shine, but yeah, it's great. But what makes people come here? I think it's a good band.
My name's Donna Kemmer, and we've been coming about 6 years.
My name's Dan Kemmer. I've been coming the same amount of time.
Well, I was going through the Ohio magazine, and I was checking the calendar of events, and I saw a listing for our band, Sounds of Sousa band. Okay. And all 4 of our kids have been in the band, and I was in the band, and we love Sousa, and so we thought, well, it's a Sunday afternoon concert, we'd go. Yeah. And when we went to the concert, the program had the listing for the dates for the Friday night concerts.
So it's about a 35-40 minute drive.
Yeah.
But it's an easy drive, and you can't beat the music. Yeah, Marcus does a gorgeous job.
Josephine Becks, B-E-C-K-S. I work with the Gazette, and I worked with Red Cross, and I actually covered some of these offices for the paper. So Medina really became my second home. Oh wow! Yeah, because that was kind of your beat, like I say. Yeah. So, and ever since that time, I guess we really thought the idea on the Friday night concerts was just super. My family I had an uncle that played with Sousa, I had brothers that were, and so I think that you were naturally drawn to the fact that you liked the music. And then of course again, it gave you an opportunity to see friends and neighbors.
Play their instrument. So they band together to do that. In Britain they call it banding. Here in the United States we call it playing in community bands. And the second reason I think is because the community still wants to listen. We go back in the history and we see that the crowds back in the 1890s were close to 1,000. Now whether they exaggerate or not, I don't know, but that was consistent. There was no entertainment that was really going on. No radio, no television. They were far enough away from the mainstream communities of Akron and Cleveland that it would take a while to get there. No computers, no iPods.
Yeah.
So it was home music, and they wanted to hear these types of things.
Yeah.
So that's remained constant, and I think that if we look at the community band now, we go back to John Nesbitt's Megatrends, and he talked about trends throughout history. And the more technology we have, the more we want to have that personal touch. He called it high tech, high touch. And I think the more technology we get and the more engrossed in technology we have, people want to go back and relive those old days. And the square is very picturesque.
Right.
It's reminiscent of something of an earlier era that's more quiet, more civil, and I think that's what people look like Main Street Disneyland. But that's what it is.
Well, I think that the community band puts out a high level of performance, and that is something that really impressed me because it's not something that's always seen at this level.
Well, probably because everyone enjoys doing it. The audience enjoys it, you know, people enjoy the music.
Also, there are a lot of musicians in the area and people who learned a long time ago that they don't want to give it up at the end of high school or at the end of college.
For 150 years, they've been playing the music that people want to hear and people like to hear. And of course, probably because it is a well-respected band and it's pretty good. And maybe I should say it's like really excellent. Sorry, Mark.
I don't think, 35, 40 minutes is really that much of a drive. I think even if it was an hour and a half, we'd still come just because of the way it's presented and how much we enjoy it.
Well, yeah, 150 years is a long time for the band to be around. I think one of the biggest things that has really helped out is the community is just extremely supportive of what the band's doing. When you go to the concerts, you see all the people in the park, and it's just all around you there are people. It's a really cool thing to see.
I know some people that I talk to, they do enjoy this kind of music, and they enjoy the venue, being outside on a summer evening.
So I think people like good music, they like drama and theater, and that has a big deal to do with it.
I think the thing that keeps the band going particularly is just some of the friendships people have with each other. That was the one thing that I noticed most about when I started doing this group, was that people have been playing in this group together for 20, 30, 40 years sometimes, and there's family members in here, and it's one big happy band family almost. And that's probably the coolest thing. I mean, people are bringing stuff their own musical experiences from all over the place. But I mean, really what ties everybody together is like the shared experiences with each other. Making music with people is like such an interesting aesthetic experience because you bond with people really quickly when doing stuff like that. I mean, going into college when I was playing music with people, like where it would have taken me months and months to actually like build a friendship with someone, you could get it done in like no time. Because you share something that's beyond just like communicating with each other through words. It's like communicating through music. And
I really think what attracts people, keeps people in the band, and encourages people to join us is the family feeling. I've conducted a lot of bands over the course of my career, and I've been with a lot of bands, and I think that Medina Community Band is probably one of the friendliest bands I've been in, and I don't mean friendly as in hi, how are you? I mean friendly as a family. The members actually care about each other, and we've promoted that.
Well, everybody seems to be really passionate about music, whatever their level of experience is and whatever the relationship of music is to their professional or day-to-day life. I mean, we have people from all backgrounds, but I think that the thing that keeps everything together is that everyone just has a genuine love for music and what they're doing, and so it's a nice incentive to get here week to week and put in the time and effort.
Well, in a nutshell, I'm not in charge, and that's okay. I can come and set up my own chair and my own stand and not be the boss. That's refreshing too. But you get to live the lesson, and it's whatever it was that at age 10 and at age 13 and in high school and in college that caused me to really love to play my instrument has just stayed with me all this time, and it's relaxing and challenging and just appealing in so many ways to me to come and do that on an evening.
It's just a great atmosphere. Like the people are just so welcoming and helping, and so we make it fun, and I love playing music, so it's It's
a continuous progress of like getting to know people, having them open up like with me and me opening up with them. It's really cool. And then I play with some of the other people in the section or around in different groups, and it's neat to see them outside of the band too. It's like I see them on the street, I'm like, hey, it's cool though, because for me being I'll be 23 in a little bit, it's weird for me. Like I don't really have a whole lot of like friends that are adults yet, because I'm still moving into that area. But like the community band's been a great way for me to get to know people in the community. Through like a really good means, and become friends with them and find out what they do and stuff like that.
Another thing that's kind of interesting is what kind of toll conducting a community band takes on your personal life, and it does. I've missed 3 concerts on the Square since 1973. One of them was because I had to go to an educational workshop for part of my degree requirements, and missed for that. The other 2 were because of personal illness, that I have ulcerative colitis. But I can remember going to the Square feeling pretty rotten and playing, but conducting. But it's something I can't see any place else I'd be on the Square. And there's an interesting story. I'm not sure if I told it, but one of the nights I was missing, I had to go to the hospital. I had to go to the emergency room because my ulcerative colitis was acting up, and they were checking me out, and this little 80-year-old lady darted by the emergency room and looked up at me and said, 6 o'clock, you have an hour and a half, 2 hours to get to the Square before the concert tonight, and I'm on my way, and I expect you to see you there. There
are a lot of places where this happens. It definitely helps to have a director for a long period of time. That when one person steps up and is willing to take command of the group for more than a few years, that takes on its special personality of its own, because there's a stability there. People in the group know what to expect, so it makes it much easier to commit to. I think there are other communities that have good community bands as well, and as I think about those, there are places where the directors have really given quite a bit of themselves for that purpose.
But the constant in all this has been Marcus. You know, he set the standard, and he's not made it impossible. At least try to measure up to it, so that amateurs like myself have a chance to perform.
Yeah.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with Marcus. I think he's the biggest force behind it that keeps it going every year.
Well, they're very kind. They all lie. But a band is a family. And I think that without the players, the conductor couldn't conduct. And without the conductor, the players couldn't play. They probably could, but it's a symbiotic relationship. And I think certainly the fact that I've been conducting the band as long as I have is one reason why there's solidity and there's forward direction, because there's a plan. But it really is a family, and I think that we do it together. It's part of it. But if they didn't enjoy playing, whether it was under my baton or somebody else's, they'd leave. And I think if they didn't enjoy the experience of playing for the public, they'd leave.
A lot of these things have a lot of mistakes in the parts. You must remember a lot of these things, they had a piano score, but the rest of the parts were all copied out by hand. So a lot of the parts were simply wrong, and the players knew them and they corrected them without worrying about it. So some of these things, because we haven't done, we'll have to make the correction. Gail's been helping me out with a lot of these things by simply putting them on finale. Okay, 3 aces. Watch your accents.
I'm going to push them as far as I can. I'm going to push them as hard as I can. I'm going to try and encourage them to want to play better than I want them to play. Again, we're only as strong as our weakest players, and so my job is to find music that's accessible and playable by somebody who may be an adult beginner or who may be a senior professional musician, and find something we can all survive on and work together on. And that's maybe a challenge. Perform probably between 150 and 200 pieces of music a year, and that's a lot of music. Since we have 8 or 9 concerts in a row in the summer, that's more than most community bands have, and we have to play, or we've chosen to play, a different program every Friday night. There's a formula to all the concerts, and anybody that goes to them can pretty well see it. There's always going to be an overture. There's always going to be an instrumental soloist or an ensemble. There's always going to be a vocal soloist, and there's going to be a lot of marches.
One of our favorite memories is a trip we made to play on Middle Bass Island. It must have been like 100 degrees that day, and we were sitting out in the sun and on the lawn, and there was really no place to get in out of the shade, and one of the guys almost passed out. We had taken my van over on the ferry. Most people just rode over, but my van went because we had it stuffed with all the percussion equipment and some of the larger instruments. And well, several of us went swimming off the dock in our clothes while we were waiting for the ferry to go back.
one particular concert that we did out of town where we played our traditional American salute and played the service songs, and sitting there with my clarinet in hand and playing this music that I've played many times over while we watched veterans stand up. And at one particular event we saw a World War II veteran who was all dressed up stand up very straight and proudly, and a Vietnam veteran who was in camos, and they turned to each other and saluted each other. It's amazing. We've seen some amazing things. And
performing in Severance twice, Severance Music Hall in Cleveland, knowing that who performed on that stage before and who's performing there now, and having the opportunity to play in that same hall. From an artistic standpoint, nothing in the world like it. That was probably the highest moment that I had artistically that I can remember. Maybe the fondest moment was performing for sending off the troops to Iraq and bringing them back with a small ensemble. That was probably the most moving thing that we've ever done with the band. We were asked to play for the National Guard deployment for Iraq. They left in, I think it was December, and then they came back in a year, and it was very moving. And then bringing them back and playing When Johnny Comes Marching Home and watching the troops march in.
William Overture, you know, the theme music for the Lone Ranger radio program. Over a period of years, we've tried to perform William Tell Overture, and I'm trying to remember if we ever successfully got through it. We've got rained out, we've got blown out from heavy storms, and I don't remember if we ever got through it completely here in the gazebo.
All the concerts on the 4th of July are always, you know, you can't beat those. A little patriotic, and the era we were brought up in, patriotism is not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
We're growing. We continue to grow. We're up to, on the roster, we have probably 100 folks that come to play during the course of the year. Now, all of them don't come every week. We probably have about 75 or 80. Some of them are away at school, some of them are away in business, some of them are taking a year off for family or whatever. But I think the band is going to continue to grow as a musical ensemble. They want to continue to play more literature that's challenging to them. I'm going to try to push the envelope even further with them for a higher level of music. I think the next thing that we want to try and do is get more of the people involved in running the band. I don't want to say that I'm getting older. I'm probably more mature, but I'm finding that I'm enjoying including more people and doing things for the band. We have somebody that's doing public relations with me, Sue McLaughlin. We have Brenda Marshall, who's doing the website. These were all things that I did, and I think I'm finding that people in the band want to do these things for the sake of the band. And it gives them more ownership. I think we're going to continue to experience more people in the band that want to play solos and ensembles. As far as what we're going to continue to do, boy, over the 150 years, the band's done just about everything. We will probably continue to have partnerships with other musical organizations or theater organizations in the county as that develops. I think we'll continue to do concerts, but I think what we want to try and do is do what we do best, is prepare concerts for the square. So I want to continue to find music that audiences haven't heard. I want to continue to play it better than we've played it the last week and push the band to the next level.
Yeah. A lot of people in the community, this has been going on their whole life. Yeah. So it's like, you know, almost you don't know anything else. Right. But I mean, and that's because I've played in other community bands too, and there's just not like the sense of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is actually, but there's like a sense of ownership of the community. Like, this is their band, and things like that. And it's really interesting because I've been probably like 4 or 5 different community bands around the area, and it's just, you know, they're good, the people come to the concerts, but it's not an institution like it is here. Right. And it's really part of the community. Like every Friday night in summer, if there's not a band concert going on, people are confused about what's happening. So, I mean, I think that history is a huge thing for the success of the group. So,
but I think the community band's going to go on. It'll go on as long as somebody's willing to do it. My hope is that I can continue to conduct the community band as long as I'm able to daughter up to the gazebo.
They're very lucky to have this. I don't know if they realize how lucky they are. Yeah. You know, it's not offered too many places.
Conducting on Severn Stage, you can't get that anyplace else. Sending the troops off and bringing them back, can't get that anyplace else. Conducting a Friday night concert, can't get that anyplace else. So, yeah, it's an honor and it's a privilege, but it's a stewardship that I hold very dear and with a great deal of responsibility that I better do my job for them.